Well, okay.
Oh, yeah.
We're almost halfway through the topics I wanted to cover. Can we look at the consent forms next? Mm-hmm. Do you always have to get a consent form for every person in every study? That seems like it could be a lot of work.
Sure. There are a lot of studies that you don't need a signature for. Like a one-time study where you're not collecting any sort of sensitive information, where the person can remain anonymous, and where they don't encounter any more risk from the survey than they would in their everyday life.
You know, that sounds like a lot of the survey research I've been involved with lately, but you still have to give them a brief summary of all of the important details, like who's conducting the survey, the purpose of the survey, and how long it will take. But they don't actually need to sign anything. They just take the survey.
Right.
Can anyone give me a specific example?
Yeah, like a phone survey. Obviously, when you're doing a phone survey, you can't meet the person face to face, so you can't get a signature. Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm working with State University. We're conducting a health survey about children and vaccinations. I'll need a few minutes of your time. Okay, good. The purpose of the survey is to find out what people in our community know and think about different immunizations. We also want to learn about vaccination practices. In order to find out if your household is eligible to participate in the survey, I'll need to first ask a few questions. Is that all right with you? Good. Okay. How long have you lived at your current residence? Okay, 5 years. We are looking to talk with families that have school-age children. First, let me ask you, are there any children in your household under the age of 18? Yes. How many under the age of 18? 3. Okay, great. Because there are 3 school-age children living in the house, I would like to ask you to participate in the survey. This will take about 15 minutes. Is that still okay? Wonderful. I also want to let you know that the questions are generally about your family and their health and health habits, as well as some questions about demographics. You can choose to not answer any questions you're not comfortable with. Do you agree to continue with the survey? Okay. Do you have any questions for me before we begin? How did we get your number? Of course. After we conducted that survey, we did a year-long billboard and TV campaign. We did another community survey about a year after that and found that the vaccine rates had increased.
Well, that seemed like a pretty low-risk study. Was it anonymous?
It was anonymous. We didn't collect any names or other identifying information. We surveyed a few hundred people on the phone before the campaign and a few hundred people after the campaign, not necessarily the same people. That allowed us to gather information from the community and get the community views and rates without much risk of breach of confidentiality.
That's a good example of verbal consent and low-risk research. It's not going to be absolutely mandatory for you to have every participant sign the consent form. Although there are also times it's appropriate not to have the participants sign a consent form, even when the research carries some risk and you'll be interacting with these participants.
Can you give me an example?
Well, yeah, I actually did a research study with day laborers, which is pretty much, manual labor and whatnot, landscaping, construction. Now, a lot of these guys are undocumented. They have some really risky jobs that they take on, jobs that nobody else really wants. I had to get to know the guys a little bit, So I would go in early in the mornings while they were waiting for the center to open. I let them know I was working at the university, that I was involved in labor research. After a few days, after they seemed to recognize me, I introduced the idea of participating in the study to a few of them.
We can go inside and we can warm up and just talk real quick.
Okay, see.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
The study is being led by an anthropologist. He wants to talk to you really in depth about your work experiences looking for work in the U.S. and in the day labor system.
I don't want anyone knowing if I say something bad about a job I did. I have to keep working.
I understand your concerns there. You don't have to tell me the real names. You don't have to tell me the names of the places you worked at or the people you've worked for. All I'm interested in are your work experiences, not information about people or places.
Oh, so you don't say my real name?
No, not at all. You don't have to give me your real name. That way, we can keep this anonymous.
But what if I tell you something and then I don't want you to write it down?
Well, in that case, I'll respect your wishes and your concerns. And if during our conversation you want to stop, you can stop. Especially if there's a particular question you don't want to answer.
And you sure this won't get back to anyone who can hurt me or my family?
Myself, along with my colleagues, take our work very seriously. We do everything that we can to protect the information and the people that we work with.
¿Cómo sé quién es esa persona? ¿Quién es su colega? No sé. Pues suena como que es una buena investigación para algo.
Para ayudar.
A lo mejor sí.
Okay. Okay, we help you.
Now, in saying that, I want to make sure that you both have an understanding what it is we're asking of you. All right, I'm not going to make you sign anything, so that way there's no link between you and this project.
Sin firmar.
¿Sí nomás?
Sin firmar, sí.
Pues bueno. Sin fotos ni nada.
Sin fotos, no. Okay.
I met with each of those guys several times over the course of a few months. Really talked to them about their work experiences and some of the health hazards and safety practices they found on their jobs. The researchers called it an ethnographic study. I felt like I really got to know these guys. It was very interesting. Before the interviews, I was able to go over the issues and the risks of being involved, and, just to make sure that I obtained the verbal consent in order to even begin the interview. And obviously I didn't start until I received that, so.
That sounds like really interesting work. And you make a great point. It's not just about the signature. You really have to make people understand whether they have to sign or not.
Thanks for sharing, Carlos.
Absolutely.
Anyone else have anything to add? Well, we're over halfway. I suggest we take a 10-minute break.